Hi folks, today we'll do this sound. So I'll play it one more time. Okay, so this is kind of modeled after the big Thud from Blade Runner, and I I jumped out of my seat when it played in theater. That this was the first sound in that movie, and I was like, oh my god, how did you make this sound? And I think it was all zebra. So let's get to it. So we'll start with a blank patch. We'll need oscillator one later, but not right now. I might not get to the exact sound because we are going to create this, in a short period of time, but I kind of know where that sound goes. First thing you need is actually a noise, right? And so if you play this, it's white, right? So what I really need is the pink noise. It has a lot more of that bass sound. Pink noise apparently has all the octaves, all the frequencies at the same energy level, I believe, right? And I need to kind of bring that about there, right? So the key to this sound, I believe, is one of the MSEGs, right? I did kind of create a preset here, but I will actually go through how I make it. Okay, give me a second. So it's fairly straightforward. You have to essentially so you need this shape. Okay. However, this one it'll be like this. So this is kind of the shape that you need. And typically for these kind of sounds, you don't want the time base to be quarters. You might want to do as seconds. Okay, and I'll make this the start and end of the loop. Okay, so this noise would fall like this with the for the volume. So it's kind of the same thing that we did last time. So you would bring the volume down and then modulate the volume with MSEG 1, right? And pull it all the way. So that's kind of the sound. You hear that, right? Yeah, that's kind of what we need. Okay, leave the high pass. We'll play with it later. For this, now we need to kind of make it more percussive, and to do that we bring in a vanilla filter. Maybe we'll do with a 24, right? And then I would modulate this with the exact same MSEG. Okay, now to do this we might need to kind of go somewhere. So play around with this where it should be, okay, and then you go and okay. We might want to just increase the drive so it's louder, right? And maybe a tiny bit of resonance. Yeah, I think kind of there. Okay, so that's kind of the bass sound, and we have to add more and more layers kind of to match up the original sound. The next thing I would do is to actually shape that sound a little bit, meaning carve out a little bit out of it. So for that, I'm going to use an all pass filter, right? Like a low LP, low pass, all pass filter. Okay. I could also use a phaser. The reason I used the all pass is that, see, this effect of an all pass mixed with the original signal is the same as the phaser. Okay, so the reason I did is because I can use that volume. Okay, it's going to be a little louder. Okay, so let's see. really hear anything much. Okay. We also want to probably just get the MSEG also to give it a little bit more percussive nature to it. No wonder. So filter, you should. I was wondering why there was no change at all, right? And I kept playing it, and in my mind I could hear the change, but I wasn't really hearing it. It's because the filter was not really taking the input from this lane, right? So now you would hear it. See that? Okay, so you don't want too much resonance because it will give you that wow, 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 that sound. Okay, so there, somewhere there. Okay, that's good. So next thing I want to just get started with actually is the global effects. Okay, the reason is that I'm gonna, because this is a fully reverberated thud sound, and it's best to like work in tandem with the reverb, so you know exactly what the end sound is going to be. I don't want to just design the whole thing and then later send it to reverb. This is not that kind of sound. Okay, so we'll add a reverb, and what I want to do is I don't want to just pipe it through the Zebra reverb fully. I want to just be able to add as much reverb I want, and adjust how much I want to add in here. Okay, so here I would take the input from lane 1, and there you go. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Okay, I want the maximum size, and maybe like really what. Yeah, not exactly what I wanted. So I think, okay, let's go to the MSEG, right? And let's work with the, I think this is a bit too big. You need to be a little bit more percussive like that. That's more like it. Okay. Okay. Okay, I really need the volume to go up here, so I'm going to just pump it up. Another way you can kind of increase the levels is to go and kind of add a compressor here. Okay. Okay, and then do this a little bit and then go and there you go. So you're getting that. Okay. Now what I think is kind of missing, I'm not going to play the original sound here, for obvious reasons, but there was a kind of a little bit of a tonal element there. You can really, if you listen to it, you can hear that it's almost like a distorted tonal element. I think it was done using a Zebra comb module. Okay, so let's try to add that in here and see what happens. And I've played, I like that. thing is, what I'm showing here, you can apply this to a patch, and you can have many different combinations. So the idea is not to really replicate a certain sound, but to know the tips and techniques of how a tone like that can be generated, and now you can take it and then make it your own by modifying different things, experimenting with it, right? I like that, but that's not exactly what I want. Okay, so I think it was like I think that's exactly how it was, okay? But there was a little bit more tonal. So I'm going to add something more like that, okay? So it would be a little tiny bit of feedback. If I put too much, it'll become that, and we don't want that. I think I can increase the tune. I think this was kind of like that. Yeah, I think so too. So now a little bit of shaping would help here, right, for distortion. So let's give it a tiny amount here and see. Yeah, something like that there. Yeah, I think maybe not that much. Yeah, so that's pretty good. What I've noticed is the I cannot really make the reverb any bigger than this, right? Unlike I'd like Zebra 2. I believe the original sound was done in Zebra 2. So there you go. So I think that's good. But what's it lack? It is lacking a few things. I think that initial impact is lacking. So we can do that in a simple way. Okay, that we can do with an oscillator, right? So let's mute these two, and then bring in the oscillator, right? And I want to just use a different envelope for this. Okay, and this envelope will be pretty short, right? And have a little bit of this, right? This envelope doesn't matter really, because we are kind of controlling the shape or the envelope for the first channel using the MSEG itself. Okay, but here, we need a soft sound. Okay, let's try something a little different this time. Now, this is the editor for oscillators. At this point, this is drawing the actual waveform here, but you can also make it so that you can draw frequencies here. Okay, so if you look at this, now this kind of decides the lower frequencies here, higher frequencies here. One good way to see it is using this grid, right? This grid kind of shows the 10 octaves, and within them the different harmonics, main harmonics. So here is the first harmonic, the basic fundamental, and then the second one, third, fourth, fifth, and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do is kind of use simply just the first little bit of that. Okay, I'll maybe just use something like this. So this means that I'm using, you hear that? Okay, so already that third kind of comes in, but we can make it better. We make it better by modulating the pitch, and for that we use another MSEG. Okay, here you go, and I'm going to just recall a preset that I've made before. It's simply a curve like this, and I want to just increase it like that, and very sharp curve. And what you do is you want to modulate your pitch of the oscillator to go like that, right? From bottom to low very quickly. and that does the magic. So go to the oscillator, right? And then in the tune, you would modulate it with mseg 2, okay? And you might want to lower the pitch a little bit so that it, okay? And then something like that. And it's good to actually just do the time base to seconds, so you can control that as well. Now I think we can. Okay, that's fine. Mute this, right? And that's good. And then what I want is a kind of a sub bass rumble that goes on, right? Which we can do very easily. Okay, you do that by using an FMO, right? Which is kind of the sine wave, and at this point you don't really need any different shape for that low sound. Okay, it will sound like this. And I really wanted to have a certain ring out. We'll use an envelope 3 here, have it release. Maybe have a small sustain. Okay, so FM would pitch down. And I don't want an attack like that. Okay, so I want this tune to be modulated by an LFO, and here I'll use the random ramp. Okay, not too much amplitude. And let's go with seconds. I don't know if you can hear it. It's like a really deep sound. You might need headphones or like a larger speakers to really hear it, but it's there. Okay, I promise you that I am hearing the bass sound. Okay, what can also help is a little bit more diffusion, so I can use a mod X here. Oh, that is okay. There you go. What you heard is the noise coming from the analog mode. Apparently analog mode has this, so I think it can also be tastefully used in certain patches. There's nothing wrong with it, and I'm glad it's there, but if you don't like it, you can just go digital. Okay, then now we can kind of play around with this, right? Okay, this is kind of where the sound would be. I unless I have a reference, I need to go back and listen to the original sound and then come back and tweak this, but that's going to be a little hard in this video without breaking a few copyright laws. I don't want to really do that. However, this is kind of the technique, and I did create a Blade Runner, the intro 2048 Blade Runner, that track. a mocked up one, and I'll post a link to it. You can listen to it. I've actually done that whole track, and there is a copyright strike on it. I will never be able to monetize it, but it's there as the mock. And I've also published all the presets, but it's all for Zebra 2. So if you have Zebra 2, feel free to go ahead and download them and try it on your own. It's not really a lot of patch used in that track, but it's a fantastic composition. Okay. One thing you could also do is here, if you listen to the original track, it has a few. It does play a couple of times, each time with a slight different variation. I think that variation was achieved using the high pass. So what I want to do is use a mod wheel, right? Use it the high pass, and then I will use the mod wheel to do that. So if I look at the perform, watch the mod wheel right here. I think that the initial MSEC needs to be a little bit more longer, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's the thing. You just need to ring out a little bit more, okay? And there's just too much of the sub bass coming in. There you go. I will post these patches. It will be in the description. You should be able to pick it up. I have a Substack where I kind of start posting the links and stuff, and you should be able to pick that up. It's all free. It's available there. Okay. Every lesson I have, if it involves a patch, I will post them there so you can download them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.